Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Long Island Retro Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Staub, and we have a great guest with us today. We have our cosplay coordinator, Rizuki, is with us. Rizuki, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone.
We're so happy to have you here. Cosplay has obviously become a very big part of what we do at the expo. I feel like it's becoming a bigger art form every single year. More and more people are getting into it. What's the level of excitement in the community about the ever growing kind of um, essentially the community itself, right? It's growing and growing and getting bigger and more people are doing it. Like, is there like an excitement about that or?
Definitely. So, between the older crowd, it's excitement that people are into it, that it's popular now, that it's mainstream now, that they're not going to get made fun of for it anymore. So there's happiness about that. There's happiness that there's a space to do that. That there's a community with more and more people that like us, that do the same thing, that like dressing up, and that like the same series and the same games, which is awesome. And with the younger set, it's the same thing, but for them, they never like they didn't ever live without that space. That space has kind of been blossoming and growing more and more as the years go. So thankfully, the younger set have a place to be and have people to do it with, and people that can understand. Because a lot of times the younger kids, their parents don't get it. They're trying to. They're understanding. They're supportive, but they don't get it. So overall, it's an overall just excitement and curiosity of what's next.
That's great. I love that. You know, I've been someone who has enjoyed cosplay art for many years now. I think it's a brilliant art form. I think the folks who do it are incredibly talented, and it's painstaking work that takes hours upon hours upon hours. You know, I've dabbled a little bit. I've dabbled a little bit in doing some cosplay, but I was most recently at Anime NYC,
I,
and my wife and I did some costumes, and it's so cool to kind of be among people who are into the same stuff or dressed up as similar things.
Mhm.
And I know that like with gaming cosplay is obviously a big thing, but there's clearly overlap, right? I love how anything kind of goes. Um, you know, I always like to ask the people who've been doing it for a while and or who are, you know, voices in the community. It's like, how do we get to that point? Like, how do we get to that point where like, you know what, anything goes? Like, what's the mentality behind that? It's like, do what you want, do what makes you happy, or is it part of the art form? Is it the expression? I don't know. I'm always curious.
It's a mixture of all of the above, I would
Yeah.
say. I know for me, it's definitely do what makes me happy.
Hmm.
Um, One of my cosplay builds for 2023 is Rika from Fantasy Star 4.
Oh, very cool.
There's no demand for her right now. It's not like you go on Instagram or TikTok and you see a bunch of Fantasy Star cosplayers. But I love that game. I started streaming that game a month ago, and I was like, you know what? Let's do it. We're hitting 19 years of the game next year. Let's do it. A
Yeah.
lot of people will just do what brings them happiness, even if it's the most obscure thing. Um, but on the flip side of that, some people find inspiration and find motivation in what's popular because maybe they got into it as well, or their friends are doing it, or they see their peers and people they look up to on social media doing it. So they might be like, you know what? I've only played Genshin Impact 3 times, but I love it. And I see there's a huge community for it. I think I'll really fit in. And it's so awesome. And to see more gaming cosplays really kick off and like be in the community more than they used to is super cool because you would really only you'd see anime, of course, and you'd see
Yeah.
sci-fi, of course, but I've been cosplaying technically since 1998, and back then
Wow.
I didn't really see gamers, but we also didn't have a space to be. So it could very well just be a matter of we had nowhere to go.
Yeah, and you think back to 98, which is that's amazing. All right? That's the same amount of time Pokemon's been out in the United
Yep.
States.
Yep.
So, when you go back to that and you think about 98, it's like no 3D printing, no Etsy, no internet, no I mean, there was internet, but it was very, very, very
Not this.
simple. Yeah. There weren't websites to go to, as many websites to go to and talk about this type of stuff, and the artistry that goes along with it.
Mhm.
I think from my experience, I know a lot of people like who get into cosplay for different reasons. They like the build, they like the artistry, they like playing a character, they like all this stuff. So I think it kind of scratches a whole bunch of itches.
For sure.
Similarly to video gaming, right? Right. It's like, math people like video gaming because it's number crunchers. Story people who like story likes that and all that stuff. But I find it so cool, how artfully done and how unique people get, and I think it's kind of great too that like it's not like a Halloween party, right? It's not like, oh well, I win as this, so this person can't, right? That doesn't happen from my experience. From what I've seen, you see people who are dressed as the same character, kind of sometimes take pictures together and do this thing like when you see 20 Spider-Man or Spider-Mans, excuse me, it's a proper noun. Spider-Mans run around Comic-Con. So you had mentioned you have a build that you're working on for 2023, which is
Yes.
cool. I love that. Now, first of all, Fantasy Star, awesome, love that. Sega's very underappreciated when it comes to RPGs. Um, my question, my question for you there is now. I feel like, do you continue to carry the builds with you from years past, and like do you have like for lack of a better term, right, do you just have like a closet full of these different cosplays that you could just pop out at any given time?
Yeah, literally directly next to me is all of my cosplay. It's like literally right next to me.
That's
Um,
good.
so a lot of people do like to declutter and they'll sell cosplays they've made or they no longer wear. And for ones that I've bought, I'll declutter, like I'll give them away or I'll sell them or something. But for the ones that I've made, I can't do that because I'm like that was me learning,
Yeah,
that was me growing and figuring out my craft and figuring out how to sew and how to adjust to my size, and it's kind of like my child in a
yeah,
weird way.
yeah.
So I have cosplays that I've been working on. I have like the very first cosplay I ever made, which was horrible. It's like garbage, but I can't get rid of it because I look at that and then I look at where I am now and I compare it, and it's just the coolest thing to see, even though I look at it and I just see shame. But
I think that's kind of that's kind of the life of any artist, right?
yeah,
You look at your art, if whether you're an actor or a writer or a cosplay builder or a musician, you look at your stuff that you did when you first started or listened to it or whatever. And I always feel like it's kind of like, yeah, that wasn't great, but it gets you to where you are today, and I
exactly.
really appreciate that. And I love that you kind of, I feel like a lot of cosplayers from who I've talked to, like kind of keep their stuff to a degree, like they keep
Yeah.
the costumes are special to them, and they can bust them out at conventions and things like that. Now, um, so the greater cosplay community at large, obviously, is heavy involved in the con lifestyle and that space. Now, how has that kind of grown in recent era? How is it continuing to grow?
So for like a backstory, my very, very, very first convention was in 2002, the
Okay.
Big Apple Anime Fest in New York City. Rest in
Yeah.
peace.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Oh, nice. And I look at that con, and then I think about my last con, which was also Anime NYC.
Yeah.
And I like in my head, I try to do like a side by side like walkthrough of the two of them, and it's literally night and day.
Yeah.
Like now, for example, Anime NYC 2022, there were cosplayers everywhere, photo
Hmm.
shoots everywhere, media everywhere, and just people stopping you, and everyone either they handmade it, they bought it, they commissioned it, whatever it is, but everyone was just so hyped, and there were so many bodies, so many artists, so many vendors. It was just wall to wall stuff.
Yep.
Big Apple Anime Fest, there was maybe pockets of cosplayers. There was definitely not nearly as many. And like you were saying earlier, to piggyback off of that, there was no Etsy. There
Yeah.
was no Amazon. There was
Yeah.
no Arta Wigs, no Epic Cosplay. There was no Yaya Han. There was no
Yeah.
Jessica Henry. There
Yeah.
was none of this. We had nowhere to go. All we had was our memories, because we didn't really have screenshots or stuff. We didn't have Crunchyroll. We didn't have YouTube. We just had our VHSs. We didn't even have DVDs yet.
I know.
So
I remember those days. They were rough.
they were rough days. So you basically had your hopes, your dreams, and hitting pause at the right time on the VHS player. That's all you had.
Yeah.
And I think back then, the difference between then and now, and I'll admit this on both sides, I think now we take for granted how easy it is to get everything and to get anime and to get video games and to see it and to save it. And like Final Fantasy, for example, you can buy like a book with the characters in every single angle so you can see their costume and you can build it from scratch if you wanted to. Back then, you just had a prayer and your imagination.
Yep.
And when I think about my cosplaying back then and conventions back then and how just bare minimum it was, we were happy with the little we had. And of
Yeah.
course, now I'm thrilled that we have Amazon and YouTube and Crunchyroll. Thank God. Oh my goodness.
I know. I know.
But I'm just like, wow, we've grown a lot as gamers, as anime fans, as sci-fi fans, as just nerds,
Yeah.
as pop culture has seen us and our community and our likes, our kind of little niche area as more and more acceptable and more mainstream. It's just so much easier and we're so much more available. That's really the night and day difference between the two.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally get that, whether it's, trying to find anime to watch, right? I remember going to comic book stores and getting VHS tapes,
Yep.
or geez, infecting my family's computer with Kazaa, trying to download the next episodes of Naruto as it was airing, or borrowing a stack of CDRs from a friend.
Oh
And
my
that's all we had. That's all we had, and it was fun, and it felt like you were searching for something. But now the access is so good. Anime NYC, my wife and I went, and we found out we were going like a week and a half before,
oh my
and we're like,
gosh.
can we throw together a costume really, really quickly? And we did. And thankfully to Amazon and the internet at large, we were able to kind of get all the pieces we needed, and it was a lot of fun. It was just a really nice time, and it was, like you said, it was so cool to be around that many people who were also in costume, having a good time, taking pictures.
Exactly.
There was like this 5 p.m., 6 p.m. dance party that was starting up pretty much in the whole convention. But it's really special, and really cool, and to be doing it all the way back since 98 when we had instruction manuals. It's like, oh, I want to go as a character Final Fantasy 7. It's like, well, look at the manual, the graphics aren't that good.
God. You
Figure it
hit
out.
the polygon to figure it out.
Yep, you got this. Okay, hopefully I can make a sword out of something. Back when everything was made out of foam,
Yep,
covered in duct
foam,
tape.
aluminum foil, cardboard boxes.
Yep, that's right. That's right. So I want to talk a little bit about Long On Retro Gaming, and how cosplay has become more part of what we do at the
Mhm.
convention, and kind of what you and your team of cosplay folks have been doing over the last few years, and especially the most recent expo. So what's cosplay looking like at Long Island Retro Gaming Expo?
So it's funny because you guys have been around, we've been around for a bit, but I was never able to come to LIRetro until 2019
Okay.
because it was always the same weekend as Otakon
Oh,
in
yeah.
DC, or at the time Baltimore. So I was always devastated because retro games are like my heart and my soul. Like Sega, I was a Sega girl, and I have just a gigantic list of Sega cosplays I want to do, but it's just a lot of them are so obscure. Where do I go? Here, they can go here, and it's
Yes.
fabulous. So 2019 was my first time, and then this past year was my second time, and my first time fully working with the cosplay team and just with the LI Retro team at large. And the thing I can say for the cosplay the community there and the cosplay team there and just overall is the welcomeness that's a part of this convention, and that really attributes to how cosplay is going to grow here. What I mean by that is a lot of times you'll go into a gaming space,
Yeah.
whether it's just on the mic or whether you're in a forum or Reddit or wherever you are, YouTube, etc. And somebody's always asking, "Oh, you like X game, prove it. Tell me what happened when this happened. Tell me about this character. Tell me about this scene. What games have you played? What's the soundtrack to this? And it's just like a part of you dies every time that happens.
I just died twice hearing that. Yeah, not good. I
And
don't like it.
no, I
I
hate
don't
it.
like gatekeeping. It
I
bothers
hate
me.
it. It
makes
drives
me
me insane. Like
makes me feel
I'll
icky.
I'll stream Sonic the Hedgehog, and I've had people come in saying, "Oh, I bet you don't know all of the different islands that are on the back screen right now." And I'm like, "That is not what we're doing today.
No, we're just playing Sonic,
We're
folks. Like,
just playing Sonic the Hedgehog. We are not doing this today." But the reason I bring that up is because my 2 times at LIRetro, not a single soul was like that. The vibe was not like that. It was just, "Oh, sweet, you're cosplaying Aerith. Oh, sweet, you're Aika from Skies of Arcadia." And for
that's
me, I'm
great.
just like, "You know who I am," first
Yeah.
of all. But it's just this welcomed openness, this genuine community that's there. And I think cosplayers that are gamers as well, I think really feel that. I had a couple friends come for the first time this year. One of our judges, Horror Queen Cosplay, love her. Love, love,
Yeah.
love her. She's from Jersey and came for the very first time, brought a friend. And when the event was over, she came to me and was like, "I need to be at this event every single year." The vibe was so pure. I bought too much stuff. There were so many things to play. I don't know what to do. It's just that energy was infectious. And every cosplayer I spoke with just felt seen. That was the feedback we kept getting after the cosplay contest and just after speaking to cosplayers. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for seeing me. And not just to me, but the con overall. Because a lot of these cosplayers were cosplaying either niche skins from what do you call it, from a video game, or they were cosplaying a popular character or just a random obscure. It didn't matter
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they felt welcomed, they felt noticed, they felt like people actually cared.
Yeah.
So our goal with cosplay at LA Retro is to continue that.
Yeah.
We want to gamers and cosplayers, we're one and the same. Whether you also happen to cosplay and you're a gamer or you just cosplay and you're whatever it is, we're all in the same. We love the same stuff. We may present it differently. We may showcase our passions and are creative with those passions differently, but we're one and the same.
Hmm.
Have a place where we can really go and showcase that. So our goal is to one, have the cosplay contest where the cosplayers can feel, wow, they really listened to why I like this character, why I like this version of this character. They really actually noticed me.
Yes.
Making sure we have judges and just a team that's diverse so that they feel included, that they feel respected, that they feel like they're not invisible. And then just overall, when we're talking to them, when we're taking video of them, when we're taking photo of them, when we're posting them, wow, they took a photo of me and it actually went on their social media. That's crazy. Wow, they actually were interested in my Samus and they want to post that. That's the dream. That's the
Yeah.
whole goal we want here, is that inclusivity, that diversity, and just showcasing how passionate we are about these games. So that's, I'd love to see other things that I've been talking to a couple staff members about, that hopefully, fingers crossed, 2023 we're going to start implementing some of them.
Beautiful.
But I'd love to showcase the cosplayers more and showcase their passions for their games and why they like this version of Fantasy Star, why they like this particular entry in the Legend of Zelda series, or whatever it happens to be, why they always play as Jigglypuff in Super. Like, I want to showcase that, and I want them to really feel a part of this community. Not that they're visiting, but that they're part of it.
Yeah. Um, I love everything you said. Like that's some beautiful stuff. I think that's really what this convention's all about, what this expo is all about. So I know, this was your first year working with the convention or the expo. I don't want to say the wrong word. I always do. Um, it's your first year working with the expo, but I've been with the expo now for, I think, like 4 or 5 years. And, that's the feeling always. This expo, this convention is, from my experience, way different than a lot of the other ones I've attended. There is a warmth to it. There is a family style to it. And I mean that in the best possible way. I
Negative.
don't mean, yeah, I don't mean like nasty of family. I mean like a loving family. It's as educational as it is fun. And the whole point of it is to, we want to educate people on stuff like cosplay. I work in the museum section with Brendan Bailey. We do all the weirdo out there, obscure computers and game consoles and all that stuff. And it's some of the most fun stuff ever. And I love it. But that's the point. We don't want anyone to feel like an outsider. And I think, your mentality with it is right in line with how things happen. And, I think that's awesome. I think so many people who doesn't, I'm going to bring up Halloween again, but everyone loves Halloween, right? For the most part.
For
Most
the
people
most
love Halloween. Most people love costume parties. Most people love dressing up. But it always was like, well, you can only do it for specifically for Halloween because then other times of the year it's weird. And it's like the cosplayers were like, well, we like being weird and we want to be weird all the time. So I that's part of it too. And it educates people. There are people who might be a little, standoffish at first, but the second they throw the wig on and they throw on the costume and they finally they look at themselves in the mirror and they're like, wow, I feel like I walked right out of the game. I think it just makes people feel so at home and so comfortable. And what the work that the cosplay team does with LIRetro is like, you're kind of just letting people know like this is a spot, this is a space where you can come and try this out and really be part of a community. I did see unfortunately, as you know, when we're working, you don't get to see a lot of everything.
see everything.
I wish I could have seen the competition. I saw the folks walking around. I talked to oh geez, what's his name? Mike. He was Sub-Zero. Is he one of the
Oh,
guys on the
Sir
board?
Julius Cosplay. He's insane.
What
Insane.
an awesome guy.
Such
Awesome guy. I talked with him for a bit while I was eating we were eating some dinner,
mhm.
and when we both had 5 minutes to breathe, and I just was the line of people just lining up to get in was so very cool. I don't know who won. I should know who won, but what were like the top costumes this year?
I remember first place was Griffith from Berserk, actually, the
Oh,
anime.
cool, very cool.
He had the entire. I remember it in my head. Like he had like 7 people fanning him online,
Yeah, yeah.
fanning him, but he had the entire suit of armor made out of foam with his hands, just the
Wow,
whole thing.
wow,
It was sick,
wow.
and like it was sick. And I remember I was telling Horror Queen Cosplay who she was going to do prejudging with. I was telling Sir Julius where he was doing his prejudging, and the third judge, Chocobobot, I was bringing her to her group of cosplayers for the prejudging. And I just remember looking through all of them. And I was just like, I'm really glad I'm not you three because
Yeah.
wow, there was a lot of really amazing cosplays that day.
A lot of amazing stuff, and it's so impressive. And what do you look for though when you're judging? You're looking for what type of things?
It depends on the contest. So for LIRetro, for example, we ask a bunch of different questions, and I might mix it up for next year in terms of how they're
Okay.
going to judge and do points and such. But for this past year, we were looking at, okay, did you hand make it or did you buy it? Just so we know, where did this come from? How did it get on your body? Because we
Yeah.
don't care, but you do get extra points, of course, if you made it yourself.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course. So there's that. And then the next kind of section came in with creativity, like, okay, what tools did you use? Like, did you buy something and then you heavily altered it? And a couple of them really did. Like they bought something from Amazon, but then they went to town on it and it looked like a totally different outfit. It was amazing what these people can come up with and like put together. But what we're looking for is we're looking for the just the most impressive thing that's on stage, that somebody put their time, their blood, their sweat, their tears, their energy, their passion, and that's really what we were looking for this year, and that's what every cosplay contest I think is looking for. Just
Yeah.
who is really the cosplayer that has a stupendous costume, that worked hard on getting it on and getting it together, and hair and makeup and wigs, and whether it's prosthetics or whether it's foam or 3D printing or seamstressing or whatever it was. And why is this character your favorite? You
Yeah.
just spent 80 days making this ridiculously wild human Pikachu. Why human Pikachu? And how human Pikachu?
Yep. It's remarkable. It's some really just amazing stuff, and I think that's a great rubric to judge a contest on. And I do think, yeah, passion's important. Like, why do you like this character so much? Like, and it could be for any reason, right? You could have played very little of a game, but maybe you read all the books, or you
Yeah.
read comics, or you read manga, or you watch videos or anything like that. And I think that's awesome. Or you're super into it, right? And you play all the games. Also, I have to say, I didn't get a chance to say this earlier. Skies of Arcadia, great. The
Yes.
game needs a remaster. Um,
I will do whatever Sega and Nintendo need me to do to make that happen.
I know. Put it on Switch last week is
I
how I
oh,
felt about that game for a very, very long time. Um, but no, that's awesome. I love that. I love seeing the costumes walking around the convention, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger. There are more and more every single year,
yeah.
and it's so awesome. It's so cool. It's so very cool. So you said you've been doing this since '98, which
Mhm.
is a very, very long time ago. So what inspires someone to go like, I'm going to give this a shot? Now, was that before people were really saying the term cosplay, or was it fresh? Was it new?
I didn't know the term cosplay back then. I didn't know
Yes.
it, I think, until Big Apple Anime Fest, actually.
Okay.
So back then, I was very much into Sailor Moon.
Of course.
I
I mean,
blame
how could
Sailor
you
Moon
not?
but I blame Sailor Moon for everything.
Yeah. Sailor Moon, for folks, that were, I was in when Sailor Moon first really started hitting TV. It was like 95, 96, maybe
Yep.
97. I was at the tail end of elementary school, going into middle school. It would be on every morning. I'd watch that back to back with Dragon Ball Z, and then eventually they ran out of episodes, and then I had to wait 2 years. And it was inescapable, right?
It was.
It was like, oh wow. I always say that like anime blew up in America because of like Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon, and I always credit Final Fantasy VII, just because that was like a game that like had like anime visuals that they weren't
It was a
afraid
good
of.
bridge. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you.
It's like they were so afraid, right, to put like anime visuals on a game box in those days. Like even Mega Man, who's like hyper anime styled, they kind of like tried to like cartoon him up, make him look like a like an American cartoon. So
Yes.
continue. You're obsessed with Sailor Moon. What's going on?
So I was obsessed with her, just obsessed with the whole thing. And a friend of mine was having a Halloween party, going back to what you were saying about dressing up on Halloween, because that was the only time you would.
Hmm.
And everyone was like, I'm going to be a cheerleader. I'm going to be a vampire. I'm going to be Buffy. I'm going to do this. And I was like, I'm going to be Sailor Moon. And
Yep.
a family friend who was mega seamstress, insane seamstress. I went to her with my doll from '95, who is somewhere. Um,
Awesome.
I went to her, I handed her the doll, and I was like, "This," and she was like, "Okay." And that's how that happened. I just wanted to be her, and I have that photo. I actually recently posted it to my Instagram. I want to say 2 weeks ago. That original photo from 1998,
That's
and
amazing.
it's so cool because I just wanted to be her. But I didn't know what cosplay was. I didn't even fully understand anime. I just knew I watched Pokemon and Sailor Moon. That's all I knew.
I mean,
And fast forward,
like you do.
like you do, like one does. And so fast forward to like 2001. I'm slowly learning more about anime. I have a larger library of anime in my like mind. I know way more. I'm into Slayers. I'm into Yu Yu Hakusho. I'm into Fushigi Yugi. I'm into all of these other things that you had to basically like sell someone's child to get these VHSs from the internet, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you
But
did.
my favorite Sailor Moon characters ended up switching and becoming a very obscure one, Sailor Star Healer from the last season.
Yeah.
And she was everything I was not. She was stunning and she was sassy and she was a brat and if they could have thrown expletives in an anime back then, she would have said all of them. And at the time I was very shy and very introverted and very bullied for literally blinking. And I hated who I was, but I loved who she was and I just wanted to be her. So the same family friend made me her outfit. And I remember putting her on and looking in the mirror and crying
Yeah.
because I was so happy. And I was like, this is what I want. This. And that's the costume I wore to Big Apple Anime Fest. I learned what cosplay was. I learned what conventions were, and it just snowballed. And here I am.
Yeah. I know. Here you are, so many all these years later, and
Yeah.
still doing it, which
Yeah.
is doing anything for longer than like 3 or 4 years is an achievement. I think
Oh, for sure.
in terms of a creative, in terms of like a creative pursuit. And clearly you're a member of the LIRG community and the cosplay community at large. So yeah, you're still doing it. You're still doing it. And all
Yes.
these younger folks are coming in, and they got their costumes and everything, and everyone's so happy. So that's awesome. I love that. And 98's, that's going back. That's
Yeah.
going back. But
Like,
like I said, inescapable. Sailor Moon is
it is.
inescapable. At that point in time, I think everyone watched it. And
Mhm.
I like too that we go to a convention and it's like everything, anything goes, right? It's like, you can be a superhero, you can be someone from, like you said before, sci-fi, you can be a comic book character, you can be a manga character, video game character, anime character, you can be a VTuber, you can do all anything you want, right? Anything you want, you can come in and you can do all that, all anything goes. I was funny. I told this joke. Me and my wife were joking around because we went to Anime NYC, and like, what's one of the first costumes I saw? Batman and Robin. It's just like, all right, awesome, like, right, and I'm like, of course Batman's here. This is great, and I just love that. So my question for you now is like, what's next? What's next for Long Island Retro and cosplay? Like, how do you plan to make this even bigger, even better, even more fun?
So, an idea I have in mind, and this is the idea I was talking about earlier that I want to try to figure out and really like toss in there more. I want these cosplayers and just the gaming community at large to just be seen more and to be heard
Yeah,
more. So, one of the things I'm slowly trying to put together and figure out is a kind of like a gaming cosplay fashion show. So basically, it's not a contest. There's no prizes or anything, but it's just whoever, whatever cosplayer wants to, would have a sign up list and everything, of course, and they would just walk the one runway, if you will, and they would showcase, if they're Zelda, if they're whoever they are. And while they're walking, there might be like a couple sentences read by whoever the host is saying, "This is Bob. Bob really loves Link. Bob connects with Link because back when he was in school and he didn't really have any friends, he saw what Link would do and it made him feel motivated. And now he is Link here," or whatever the case may be. Just something that they can read so that people understand and know why that cosplayer is cosplaying that character and
yeah.
get to see them as that character. So I think that might be something really cool. So no one's worrying about a competition, but they can really understand the passion behind, yes, the cosplay, but also that game and that character.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Also, it's like, yeah, it takes the competition away from it, because the people who want to be like hardcore, they want to be in that competition. Awesome, right? All the power to them. But there's some people who might not want to be, and they might just want to, show off their favorite character. And I think that's beautiful. And I think that's something that can just be done in conjunction. I actually think that's a terrific idea. You should totally bring that up to everyone. Uh, and how does one sign up for this? And anyway, I think that's awesome. I think it's like being seen is so important, especially for people who want to do it. Right? They don't dress up in the costume and go to the convention so nobody sees them. Right? They
Exactly.
want people to acknowledge them. The best thing ever you see is when someone knows what someone else's costume is, and they like have a moment. Right?
That's the best. That
Yeah.
is the absolute best. Like, we talked about Skies of Arcadia a little bit ago.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite games. Like 6 months ago, I literally walked down the aisle to the main theme from Skies of Arcadia. I adore this game.
Love that.
So I made my Aika cosplay myself, like completely from scratch. And I wore her to Otakon 2015, I think, 2014 or 15. And I didn't think anyone was going to know who she was. Didn't think anyone would. So I'm walking down a hallway and somebody screams Aika's name at the top of their lungs. And I'm like, I don't know any other Aikas in any other anime. So I look around and somebody's sprinting to me and was freaking out that somebody was cosplaying Skies of Arcadia. They were also a Skies of Arcadia cosplayer. And I was just like, oh my God. We became friends. We're still friends to this day. And we're actually going to be cosplaying Fantasy Star together eventually.
Oh, fantastic. That's
So
great.
that's that made my day. She was the only person that recognized Aika that entire weekend, but
Yes.
that's the only interaction that mattered because that pushed me to update her and do more with her. It pushed me to bring her to LIRetro back in
Yeah.
2019.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just I don't know. It's
That's
the
awesome.
best feeling when someone recognizes you.
Yeah, and because I think a lot of times it's like, you said earlier in the podcast, a lot of these interests, a lot of these things, especially like RPGs, anime, video games at large, for so long, they were kind of like things that we loved that were kind of almost like a source of like, it was like a double-edged sword, right? It was stuff we
Yeah.
found solace in as nerds, but like at the same time, people make fun of
Oh,
nerds for liking this stuff. And that's really not the case anymore,
not
right?
at
It's not
all.
really the case anymore. And people who do make fun of people for being into this stuff, people are like get a grip, right?
Exactly.
So it's like, um, so it's kind of like it's awesome, and being recognized and people knowing who you are, who you cosplay as, is just it's a wonderful moment. And Ika is a great character from an excellent game, um, one of my favorites, and it's cool. And you know what though, in this day and age, that's the beauty of it, right? A character that other people would consider fairly obscure,
Hmm.
you go to a gaming convention, you go to an anime convention, and someone's going to know it.
Exactly.
And and there might not be anyone else in costume as that character,
But they
but
know
they know it, and that's what matters, right? It's
exactly
the
that.
acknowledgement that this thing that I'm super into, there's someone else out there who's also super into it, and that's awesome that you're able to stay friends with that person for so long.
Yeah.
And then you tie that into the fashion show, you tie that into it also introduces people to stuff,
Exactly.
right? Because like I'll go to a convention, you'll go to a convention, and we probably know a lot more costumes than a lot of other people. But then you'll see some costumes you don't know, right? You're like, what the
Mhm.
heck is that? And then you look at it, you look it up, you search it out. You're like, you know what? I'm going to give this a watch, or I'm going to give this a play. And you might not like it, but you might. And then you're part of the fandom too, you
Exactly.
know. So I think that's a really good thing, and I think how we do things at LI Retro is it gets rid of all the toxic fandom nonsense and just lets
It
people
does. It
people
does.
be happy and fun. Um, so we talked about the future of LI Retro. We talked about what we're doing with LI Retro now and what you're looking to do and the past and your history with cosplay, being in the game since 1998, which is awesome. So if you don't mind me asking, let- top five. Do you want to play a top five game?
Oh
Top five
gosh.
favorite costumes you've done, and top five you want to do in the future. If you can't come up with 10, you don't have to. It could be three and
No,
three. It could be two and two.
no, I got
Doesn't
you.
matter.
Okay. So in no particular order, my top five favorite
Perfectly fine.
cosplays. Um, Aika for sure, because I adore her.
Yes.
Sailor Star Fighter, because that's another cosplay I made from scratch completely.
Yeah. Awesome.
I ended up winning Best Performance at Anime NYC with her, and
Fantastic.
I love her. um, but Amy Rose from Sonic Adventure,
Yep.
absolutely adore the heck out of her. She's I just started watching Sonic Prime, and I love her even more than I
Oh,
did
how was
prior
Sonic
to that.
Prime?
I'm on episode 2. Highly recommend.
Okay, I got to check it out.
Highly
I got to check it out.
always fun. That was 3. Yes, that was 3. Okay. Next, I would say would be Eternal Sailor Moon. I just
Okay.
I got that commissioned last year, and from a cosplayer that I love her work. I love everything about her, so I was happy to throw money her way. And Eternal Sailor Moon, the last time I was Sailor Moon when I was like super happy and like in a public space like that, like satisfied, was 1998. So
Wow.
being her again, like for real,
Yeah.
that was a moment. I will not deny to you, I cried most of that day.
Hey, that's okay.
And number 5, I would say would be Sailor Uranus because
Yeah.
I also made that one from scratch, and I just love being like powerful and like yeah. So those are my top 5 that I have. Top 5 that I want to do is the next one you said.
Yeah. What? Oh, it doesn't have to be top five, but what are five that you're looking to do? What are five that you're excited about?
So this coming year, I'm finally making Tifa Lockhart.
Oh, nice.
Love Tifa.
Classic.
Adore
Yeah,
Tifa.
I mean, big favorite.
I just love her. She's oh my god. Anyway, I could get into a whole just talk about Tifa, but anyway. So Tifa, Rika, because from Fantasy Star 4, when I was last streaming Fantasy Star, she came into the game and I was like, yeah, it's my girl. And I spent a good 20 minutes just talking about her. So she's
Awesome.
so cool. So her as well. I did her before, but I want to do her for real, so I'm not going to consider my old one. Another one I want to do is Sailor Star Healer because
Oh,
that was
cool.
the one that was the first cosplay I took, the Big Apple Anime Fest, in a different outfit, but she was the reason I got into cosplay like this, so I want to be her.
Very
And
cool.
then tied for 5 is Ayane and Kasumi from Dead or Alive 2.
Okay, yeah.
I
Very,
loved
very
it,
cool. That's a
loved it.
great list. Great combination of gaming and anime and all that stuff. So I love that. Good luck. As we say in I'm a musician outside of this. Break a leg.
Thank you.
With all of that, and I'm excited to see what we see at LIRetro and online. As someone who has dabbled myself personally in cosplay, I've done some stuff. I was Zombie Spider-Man once. I was Green
Nice.
Goblin once. Most recently, I went as Denji from Chainsaw Man. I
Ooh.
didn't have the head. I didn't have all the stuff. I made a pull string because I didn't have a lot of time. But I've dabbled in it. I want to do more of it, especially like Final Fantasy stuff. But
Yes.
when you what kind of tips and advice can you give for people who are either just starting out or haven't started yet and are interested in doing it?
Okay, so it's kind of like a 1, 2, 3 that I would throw to people.
Love that.
The
Go for it.
first is don't pay attention to social media, and don't pay attention to what a bunch of people are going to demand that you do. That doesn't matter. Whatever
Okay.
social media and the algorithm and whatever they're saying, "Oh, you need to cosplay Genshin. You have to cosplay Genshin to be popular." You won't be popular unless you cosplay Genshin. If you love Genshin, then of course cosplay it, of course. But don't listen to any of that other stuff because that doesn't matter. That's other people's opinions and them trying to shove their opinion onto you. If you love a game or an anime or a movie or a book or whatever it is and you want to cosplay that, fabulous. There you go. Done. That's answer number 1. Don't let social media or anybody tell you how or when to cosplay the thing. So that's number 1. Number 2 is cosplay it how you see fit. So, for example, my Sailor Star Fighter cosplay, I altered the costume a little bit because I'm body conscious. So I didn't, that costume's very, very revealing. And I was kind of just like, yeah, nah, I'm not walking in a con completely, nah. So I made some adjustments to make the hips a little higher, to make the bra top a little bigger because it's just like, nah. So if you need to adjust the cosplay, if you need to add a midriff section, if you need to add straps, if you need to wear flats instead of heels, if you need to add an additional like armband or something, whatever you have to do to make that cosplay more comfortable and reasonable for you and your body, do it. Whatever that means for you.
Hmm.
So that's the thing number 2 that I would say. And thing number 3 is ask questions. So whether it's other people in the Fire Emblem community, whether it's other Fire Emblem cosplayers, whether it's your favorite Fire Emblem cosplayer on social media, whether it's your friend group, whether it's a cosplay build group or whatever it is, ask questions because you'll never know, you'll never learn, you'll never get there unless you do. And everyone is most people are so open to sharing, and oh, you can get fabric from this website, and you can get a really awesome Dragon Ball cosplay from this website. And oh, you're looking for the boots? Actually, this guy's selling his. And people are really open to doing that. The girl that made my Eternal Sailor Moon cosplay actually helped me with my Tifa cosplay. I was able to get the pattern, I was able to get the fabric, the 3D print pattern for the armbands. I have all the pieces now because this girl gave me her recommendation list. I'm ready to go, and I wouldn't have been able to without her.
Yeah.
So ask questions. It's completely okay. Even the people that have been doing this for years do not know everything. And sometimes we're making it up as we go. Totally okay.
Yeah.
Totally okay.
That's sagely advice, folks. Sagely advice from a cosplay professional. Um, that's awesome. I really think that's great, and I think that inspires people to get involved. It's not a scary hurdle to jump.
It's not.
It's not. Sometimes all it takes is a wig, right? Just
Exactly.
you got to put
Exactly.
that first wig on, and you're all right.
Yeah.
But I want to we're getting close to wrapping up here. I want to thank you for being on. So everyone out there, this is Rizuki, who is our cosplay coordinator
Hello.
from at Long On Retro Gaming. Rizuki, give us where can we find you on the internet so that we can see what you've done, get some advice, all that stuff. If you're okay giving that information out, where can we find you online?
So the place I'm most active is Instagram, which is just Rizuki,
Yep. Okay.
Rizuki. Otherwise, I'm on Facebook as Rizuki Cosplay, one word. I'm on the Tiki Talkies as Rizuki Ann, because somebody had the Rizuki screen name. And I'm on Twitter as Rizuki Ann as well. Those are my main 4 social media platforms.
That's Rizuki N or
Oh, Rizuki Ann. Rizuki
Ann.
Ann. Yeah.
Ann. Okay.
Yeah.
That works. Fantastic. All right. So folks, you heard it here. Find Rizuki out there on the social media. Give a follow. And if you're into cosplay, be
Let's
sure
be
to
friends.
make friends. Make friends with these folks so that you could go out and do your own costumes and have a good old time. Rizuki, thank you so much for
Thank you.
taking the time to meet with us today and sit down and have this conversation. And for everyone out there, thank you for listening. This has been the Long On Retro Gaming podcast. If you want to follow us on social media, you go ahead and do that. You can find us at LIRetro, or you can just Google Long On Retro Gaming. You can find us out there. We're putting a lot of stuff out on YouTube and Instagram, and oh geez, I don't even know anymore. There's so much stuff flying around. Just find us.
Things.
And we have so many things. And we have the expos coming up in August of 2023. You will be able to meet both of us there if you're interested in saying hello. And please play some video games, play old video games, play new video games, play new video games that look and feel like old video games. And play it all. And yeah, don't be afraid to suit up and come out. The Chainsaw Man costumes are very easy. It's just a white shirt and a black tie. Just do it.
My cosplays came from Amazon. It was
exactly. Exactly. It's that's the first step, right? It's just about getting your feet wet.
Exactly.
So once again, for Rizuki, I am Mike Staub. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and we'll see you next time.